The champagne was expensive. French, the kind that came with its own certificate of authenticity. Claire Thompson lifted the glass to her lips and tasted nothing. Below her floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sparkled with Christmas lights. Families moved like tiny figures through snow-dusted streets, heading somewhere warm. Heading home. She was 30 years old, CEO of Vision Tech worth $40 million on paper, and completely, utterly alone. Her phone buzzed against the marble countertop. The 47th notification since noon. She'd been counting. All business. Not one person asking if she was okay. Claire scrolled through them mechanically. Board members wanting updates. Rick, her CFO, forwarding quarterly projections. Investors with demands that couldn't wait until after the holiday. Then one text from 3 days ago, buried under the avalanche of work. Beth invitation still stands for Christmas Eve. Just family. No pressure. Really hope you come this year. Claire had responded the same way she always did. Can't. Quarterly reports to review. But thank you. Beth hadn't replied. Why would she? 5 years of the same excuse. Claire set down her phone and stared at the Christmas tree in the corner. She'd paid her assistant to have it delivered and decorated. Professional designer, perfect placement, every ornament coordinated in silver and white. It looked like something from a magazine spread. It felt like absolutely nothing. A memory surfaced, sharp and unwanted. 14 years ago. Her parents' living room. A crooked tree covered in handmade ornaments and too much tinsel. Her dad lifting her up to place the star on top. Careful, Claire Bear. Make a wish while you do it. What should I wish for? Whatever matters most to you. She'd wished for her family to be together forever. 6 months later, the house fire took them both. Christmas night, while they were sleeping. The tree lights they'd left plugged in one frayed wire nobody had noticed. Claire drained her glass, refilled it, stared at the perfect tree that wouldn't burn down, wouldn't give her memories, wouldn't give her anything except the hollow satisfaction of checking another box. The doorman had wished her Merry Christmas on the way in. She'd paused, actually struggled to remember how to respond. When was the last time those words had crossed her lips? You too. George, she'd finally managed. His surprised smile had made something twist in her chest. Now the silence of her penthouse pressed against her like a physical weight. She could hear her own heartbeat. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant wail of a siren 12 floors below. Not one sound of life, of love, of mattering to anyone. Claire grabbed her coat. She couldn't stay here. Not tonight. Not with 14 years of ghosts and the crushing realization that she'd built exactly the life she'd sworn she wanted, and it was killing her. Outside, snow was falling soft and steady, turning the city into something from a postcard. Through lit windows, Claire could see families gathering. A father helping his daughter hang stockings. A mother pulling cookies from an oven while children pressed their noses against the glass. An elderly couple slow dancing in their living room, no music needed. She stopped outside a modest house where a little boy was climbing onto his father's shoulders to place a star on their tree. The dad's face was lit with pure joy as he steadied his son. Her own father doing the same. His laugh. His hands keeping her safe. Gone. 14 years gone. And she was still alone. Tears froze on her cheeks before she could wipe them away. She forced herself to keep walking, head down, shoulders tight against the cold, and the memories pressing in from all sides. 2 blocks later she saw it. The Copper Kettle. A diner with steamed windows and a neon sign that flickered slightly. The kind of place she'd never normally enter. But through the glass she could see warmth, light, people who weren't alone. Just for coffee, she told herself, just to be around humans for a little while. She pushed through the doorbell, jingling above her head. The diner smelled like coffee and bacon grease and something sweet from the pie case. Christmas music played from speakers mounted above the counter. Silent night competing with the hiss of the espresso machine. Claire stood in the doorway, suddenly aware of how out of place she was. Her coat probably cost more than everything in this room combined. Her shoes were Louboutin. Her watch was Cartier. She might as well have worn a sign, "Not from here." The diner was nearly empty. A tired waitress with a name tag reading Donna was restocking coffee supplies behind the counter. An elderly man sat in a corner booth with his newspaper and a cup that looked like it had been refilled many times. A young couple occupied a booth in the back, heads close together, whispering. Every eye turned toward Claire. "Just you, Hon?" Donna's voice was kind, despite the exhaustion etched into her face. Claire flinched at the question. The emphasis on just. "Yes, just coffee, please. Take any seat you like." Claire settled at the counter, grateful to turn her back on the curious stares. She wrapped her hands around the coffee cup when it arrived, letting the warmth seep into her fingers. When had she last held something warm just for comfort? The door opened with a blast of cold air and the jingle of bells someone had hung for the season. Claire glanced up out of habit. A man stepped inside a little girl tucked against his side. Both were shivering despite their winter coats, the kind that looked worn but clean. Loved and patched, and kept for years because buying new ones wasn't really an option. The girl's eyes lit up like stars when she saw the Christmas lights strung haphazardly around the diner's interior. "Daddy, look," she pointed with mittened hands. "They have Christmas here too." The man smiled, despite the exhaustion carved into every line of his face. Early 30s, brown hair dusted with snow. Hazel eyes that crinkled at the corners when he looked at his daughter. "Santa knows about this place, sweetheart." "He does. Of course. Santa knows about everywhere. That's his job, remembering all the places where good kids live." The girl beamed, maybe 6 years old, curly brown hair escaping from beneath a knit cap missing one front tooth. Her sneakers had sequins on them, half fallen off from wear. They approached the counter, settling 2 stools down from Claire. The man pulled out his wallet. Claire watched from the corner of her eye as his expression shifted. Jaw tightening, shoulders dropping slightly. He was counting quarters. Dimes. Nickels. A few crumpled dollar bills smoothed flat with desperate care. Not enough. She could see it in the way his hands stilled, the way he swallowed hard. The girl hummed Jingle Bells, softly oblivious to her father's tension. She kicked her feet against the stool, making the sequins on her worn sneakers catch the light. Donna appeared with her order pad and a weary smile. "What can I get you, folks?" The man hesitated. Claire watched him calculate, making choices no father should have to make on Christmas Eve. "Just hot chocolate for my daughter," he said carefully, voice steady despite everything. "And maybe some toast." Donna's expression softened. That's all we need tonight." The girl looked up at her father, really looked at him with the kind of seeing that only children possess. "Aren't you hungry, Daddy?" "I'm fine, Em." "But you didn't eat lunch." Her voice was small, worried. "Or breakfast." "Emma, you always say breakfast is important." The man's face flushed. His hand shook slightly as he set the money on the counter. $4.73 in mixed change. Around them, the diner had gone quiet. Other customers trying not to stare, trying not to witness this moment of private desperation made public. Claire's chest cracked open. She was sitting here in a $1,000 coat, drowning in champagne and loneliness by choice, by her own design. Because she'd decided walls were safer than windows. This man was counting quarters to buy his daughter toast on Christmas Eve. Her hand moved before her brain could engage. "Excuse me." Her voice came out steady. "Professional," the voice she used in boardrooms to command attention. The man turned surprised. Whatever they order, Claire continued addressing Donna, but keeping her eyes on the man. Put it on my bill, and add full meals for both of them, please. The man stared at her. His hazel eyes searched her face for the catch, the pity, the judgment. That's very kind, but we're okay. Claire met his gaze. Something passed between them. Recognition of pride, maybe, of the terrible weight of needing help. I'm sure you are, she said gently. But I'm sitting here alone on Christmas Eve, and buying you both dinner would make me feel less pathetic about that. So really you'd be doing me a favor. The man studied her face, looking for the lie, looking for the trap. She made sure he didn't find either. The girl tugged on his sleeve, whispering urgently, too quiet for Claire to hear, but she could read the child's expression, the hope, the hunger, the trust that her father would make the right choice. Finally, he nodded. Slowly. His shoulders dropped, tension releasing. Thank you. His voice was rough. I'm Daniel. This is Emma, Claire. Emma waved shyly her mitten, making a soft sound against the counter. Hi, Miss Claire. Claire found herself smiling a real smile, not the polished one she used for investors. Hi, Emma. What's your favorite thing about Christmas? Emma's entire face transformed. Like someone had flipped a switch and suddenly all the lights came on at once. Everything. But mostly the magic part. Daddy says Christmas has special magic that only happens once a year. She looked at her father for confirmation. Right, Daddy. Daniel's expression was complicated, and sadness, and something that looked like guilt all tangled together. Right, sweetheart. Donna reappeared with her order pad. So what'll it be, the real order this time? Daniel glanced at the menu board above the counter. Claire watched him try to choose the least expensive items even now. Don't, she said quietly. Order what you want, both of you. That's too much. It's Christmas Eve. Please. Emma tugged his sleeve again. Can I have pancakes with chocolate chips? Daniel looked at Claire. She nodded. Pancakes with chocolate chips, he told Donna. And I'll have the burger. With fries. Extra fries, Claire added. And whatever pie you have for dessert. We have apple and cherry. One of each. For sharing. After Donna left, awkward silence settled between them. Claire took a sip of coffee. Daniel stared at his hands. Emma looked between them with 6-year-old curiosity. Then Emma broke the silence with the kind of direct question only children ask. Why are you eating alone? Don't you got family? Emma, Daniel warned gently. That's personal. It's okay. Claire surprised herself by being honest. I don't have family nearby, and I work a lot, so I never really made close friends who'd want to spend holidays with me. Emma's forehead wrinkled as she processed this with the seriousness children bring to big concepts. That sounds lonely. The simple observation hit like a punch to the chest. No pity, no judgment. Just truth delivered by someone too young to know how much it would hurt. It is, Claire admitted. Sometimes. Daddy gets lonely too. But he says we got each other, so it's okay. Emma looked at her father. Right, Daddy. Daniel's ears turned slightly red. Emma, maybe Miss Claire doesn't want to talk about. It's fine, Claire said. And strangely it was. Your daughter's right. Being alone is lonely, even when it's your own choice. Emma studied her with the intense focus of childhood, the kind that sees through expensive coats and perfect hair to the person underneath. You should come celebrate with us. Emma. No, Daddy, listen. Emma's voice rose with excitement. Miss Claire is nice, and she bought us dinner, and she's sad, and you always say nobody should be alone on Christmas. Daniel looked mortified and touched in equal measure. That's very sweet, Em, but Claire probably has plans. I don't. The words came out before Claire could think them through. I don't have plans. They stared at each other across the counter. Daniel's hazel eyes searching hers, trying to understand why a woman in a $1,000 coat would want to spend Christmas with strangers in a one-bedroom apartment. Emma grinned, showing the gap where her front tooth used to be. Then it's settled. You're coming home with us for Christmas. Donna brought their food to a booth instead of the counter. More room for a family dinner, she said, with a knowing smile that made Claire's throat tighten. Family. They slid into the booth, Emma in the middle, Claire and Daniel on either side. It felt natural, despite being completely strange. Emma's pancakes arrived piled high with chocolate chips. She stared at them like they were treasure eyes wide with wonder. Can I really eat all these? Every single one, Daniel said, voice thick with emotion. Miss Claire made sure of it. Emma picked up her fork, then paused. We should say what we're thankful for first. That's what Grandma used to do. Daniel's expression flickered with old pain before smoothing into something softer. Okay, sweetheart, you start. Emma closed her eyes very seriously, hands folded on the table. I'm thankful for Daddy, and for Miss Claire buying us dinner, and for chocolate chip pancakes, and for Christmas magic. She opened her eyes and looked at Daniel expectantly. Your turn. I'm thankful for you, Em, for your big heart that's always looking out for other people. Both of them turned to Claire. Your turn. Miss Claire. Claire's eyes burned. When was the last time she'd said grace? Her parents used to do this before every meal, no matter how simple. I'm thankful for meeting both of you tonight. She managed. For not spending Christmas completely alone. Emma nodded solemnly. That's a good one. They ate. Emma chattered between bites about school and her best friend Sophie and the snowman they'd built last week that was probably melting now because yesterday got warm. Claire watched Daniel as Emma talked, the way he listened with complete attention, the way he cut her pancakes into smaller pieces without being asked, the way his whole face softened when he looked at his daughter. This was love. Real unconditional parent love. The kind Claire's parents had given her before the fire took them away. Tell Miss Claire about your drawing, Daniel prompted gently. Emma's face lit up. Oh, I draw pictures. Daddy says I'm real good at it. Want to see? Before Claire could answer, Emma was digging through her father's coat pocket. She produced a folded piece of paper and smoothed it on the table with care. It was a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures. One tall with brown hair, one small with curly hair, and one that looked like it had been erased and redrawn several times, the paper worn thin in that spot. That's me and Daddy, Emma explained, pointing. And that one was supposed to be Mommy, but she left, so I tried to draw Grandma instead. But she died, so now it's just empty. The casual way she said it broke Claire's heart into pieces. Your grandma died last year, Daniel said quietly. My mom. She helped me with Emma after he trailed off, jaw tightening. After my wife left. I'm sorry. It's okay. Emma patted Claire's hand with sticky fingers. Grandma said she'd always watch over us, from heaven, like an angel. So she's still here, just different. They ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Emma's eyes went wide with sudden memory. Daddy. The power. Did you check if it came back on? Daniel pulled out his phone and checked his messages, brow furrowing. Yeah, it's back. Maintenance company just confirmed. What happened? Claire asked. Our building lost power this afternoon, Daniel explained. Electrical issue I'll need to fix tomorrow. I'm the superintendent there, do repairs, maintenance, that kind of thing. We couldn't stay in a cold, dark apartment on Christmas Eve, so he gestured at the diner. Here we are. We've been here for hours, Emma said, swinging her legs. Daddy bought me 1 hot chocolate at the beginning, but then it ran out, and we were just sitting and waiting, and it was boring, until you came and made everything better, Emma. You can't just tell people they saved you from being bored. Why not? It's true. Claire laughed a real laugh that came from somewhere deep in her chest. When was the last time she'd laughed like that? Daniel looked at her apologetically. I should get her home. It's already way past bedtime. No, it's not. It's Christmas break. Oh, right. Can Miss Clare come with us? Emma asked suddenly, looking between them with hope shining in her eyes. Please. She said she doesn't have plans, and our apartment has heat now, and we have a Christmas tree. Daniel looked torn, protective instincts warring with something else. Emma. I'm sure Claire doesn't want to. Actually, Claire heard herself say, I'd love to, if it's really okay. Daniel studied her face, searching for the lie or the pity or whatever he expected to find. Claire looked back steadily, letting him see the truth. She was just lonely, just human, just desperate not to spend another Christmas alone. Our place it's not fancy, he warned. I've had fancy. It's overrated. Emma squealed and threw her arms around Claire's neck, nearly knocking over the syrup. This is the best Christmas ever. The apartment building was old but well maintained, Daniel's handiwork visible everywhere. Fresh paint in the hallways, repaired trim, light fixtures that actually worked. Third floor, he said, leading them upstairs that smelled like pine cleaner. Elevator's been out for a month. I'm working on it. You fix everything in the building? Claire asked, following behind. Pretty much. That's the job. In exchange, we get free rent and a small salary. It's enough for us. Emma ran ahead, her footsteps echoing in the stairwell. Don't run. I'm not running. I'm speed walking. Daniel smiled, despite himself. She's got an answer for everything. They reached apartment 3C. Daniel unlocked the door, and Emma burst inside like she'd been holding her breath the whole walk. Welcome to our castle. Claire stepped inside and stopped. It was small, one-bedroom, a bathroom, a living area that combined kitchen and living room. Maybe 500 square feet total, but it was warm, clean, lived in without being messy. And it felt like a home in a way her penthouse never had. A worn but comfortable couch, a small dining table with mismatched chairs, drawings covering every inch of the refrigerator held up with alphabet magnets, a Christmas tree in the corner, modest in size, but decorated with obvious love, handmade ornaments, paper snowflakes cut with childish precision, strings of lights that blinked unevenly but filled the room with warmth. It's not much, Daniel said, suddenly self-conscious. But it's home. It's perfect, Claire said honestly. It feels like a home. That's something I haven't had in a long time. Emma grabbed Claire's hand, her mitten finally removed to reveal small, warm fingers. Come see my room. I share it with Daddy, but I have my own bed and everything. The bedroom was tiny. A twin bed for Emma decorated with unicorn sheets. A larger mattress on the floor for Daniel, with blankets folded neatly at the foot. A small dresser. Toys organized in boxes along one wall, each labeled in Daniel's careful handwriting. This is Sparkles. Emma held up a stuffed unicorn, slightly worn from love. He's my favorite, and this is Mr. Bear, and these are my art supplies. She showed Claire everything with the generous pride of a child sharing her treasures, her crayons organized by color, her stack of drawing paper, most of it covered in elaborate scenes, her collection of rocks that she'd found and painted with designs. You're very organized, Claire observed, genuinely impressed. Daddy says a messy room makes for a messy mind. Emma said it like she was reciting scripture. Your daddy's very wise. I know. They returned to the living room to find Daniel in the kitchen area, pulling out ingredients from cabinets that Claire suspected contained very little. I was going to make hot chocolate, he said. The real kind from scratch. If you want some. I'd love that. Emma tugged on Claire's sleeve. I get to help Daddy taught me the perfect recipe. 3 marshmallows, not 2. That's the rule. Who made that rule? Me. I'm the hot chocolate boss. Daniel laughed, and the sound transformed his whole face. She's very serious about it. Claire watched them work together. Daniel heating milk in a small pot. Emma carefully measuring cocoa powder with her tongue sticking out in concentration, the easy way they moved around each other in the tiny kitchen. A dance perfected by repetition and love. Her penthouse had a kitchen 3 times this size. She'd never cooked anything in it except coffee. "Can I help?" she asked. Emma handed her the bag of marshmallows with grave responsibility. "You can count. 3 for each cup. Not 2, not 4. 3. 3. Got it." They made hot chocolate together. Emma directing operations with firm authority, Daniel providing gentle corrections when she got too enthusiastic with the cocoa powder. Claire counting marshmallows and feeling lighter than she had in years. They settled on the couch, Claire in the middle, Emma on her left, Daniel on her right. The Christmas tree lights blinked in the corner. Soft holiday music played from an old radio that had probably been here for decades. "Story time," Emma announced, jumping up. "Miss Claire, you have to read to us." "I don't." Emma was already running to get a book, bare feet padding against the worn carpet. "She's determined," Daniel said apologetically. "I can see that." Emma returned with The Night Before Christmas, the cover worn soft from years of handling. "This one, your voice sounds like a teacher, and teachers are good at reading." Claire took the book with shaking hands. "It's been a long time since I read this. Then it's specially important you read it now." Claire opened to the first page. Her voice cracked on the first word's emotion catching in her throat. "'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house." She read slowly, carefully. Emma snuggled against her side, warm and trusting. Daniel's presence pressed against her other side, solid and real. By the time she reached Happy Christmas to all and to all, a good night, Emma's eyes were drooping. Daniel gently lifted his daughter. "Bedtime, princess." "But Miss Claire, we'll still be here when you wake up, I promise." He carried Emma to the bedroom. Claire could hear their quiet conversation through the thin wall. "Is Miss Claire gonna stay?" "Just for tonight, sweetheart. I like her, Daddy. She's sad like you used to be. Maybe we can make her happy too. Maybe we can, Em. Sleep now. Love you, Daddy. Love you more." Daniel returned with 2 mugs of tea settling on the couch beside Claire, with careful space between them. "Thank you for staying," he said quietly. "Emma hasn't been this excited about Christmas in a while. Thank you for letting me stay. I haven't felt this." Claire paused, searching for the right word. Connected. In years. They sipped their tea in comfortable silence. The Christmas tree lights blinked rhythmically. The old building creaked and settled around them. "Your daughter is amazing," Claire said finally. "She's the best thing I ever did. Only thing I didn't mess up." "You didn't mess anything up. You're raising her alone." "That's brave." Daniel's laugh was hollow. "Most days I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water. You're doing more than that. She's happy. Secure. She knows she's loved. That's everything. Her mother left when she was 3. The words came out like they'd been held back for too long. No warning. Just a note on the kitchen table saying she couldn't do this anymore. That being a mother was holding her back from her dreams. Claire's hand moved instinctively, covering his where it rested on the couch between them. That wasn't about Emma. That was about her. I know. Logically I know, but Emma sometimes asks why her mom didn't want her. And I don't have a good answer for that. The answer is that your ex-wife is an idiot. Emma is extraordinary. Their eyes met. Something sparked in the space between them. Recognition, maybe. Of shared loneliness. Of wounds that matched. Daniel's thumb brushed across Claire's knuckles, tentative and gentle. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Why were you really alone tonight? You seem like someone who could have her pick of holiday invitations." Claire pulled her hand back, wrapping it around her tea mug like armor. "I've spent 10 years building my company. 10 years of 14-hour days and missed birthdays and relationships that withered because I was never there. She stared into her tea. After my parents died, I decided work was safer than people. Work couldn't leave, couldn't die, couldn't hurt me. But it did hurt you. Yeah. Her voice was barely a whisper, just in a different way. I'm sorry about your parents. House fire when I was 16. They were home for Christmas instead of taking a work trip. If they'd chosen work, they'd still be alive. She looked up at him, eyes bright with old tears. So you see, I learned young that choosing people over work gets you nothing but loss. Claire, I know that's not logical, but grief isn't logical. And for 14 years I've been terrified of losing anyone else, so I just didn't let anyone in. Daniel shifted closer, not touching, but near enough that she could feel his warmth. My ex leaving destroyed me, he said quietly. Not just the abandonment, but what it did to Emma. Watching her wait by the window for a mom who was never coming back. He swallowed hard. I swore I'd never let anyone close enough to hurt us like that again. But then you walked into that diner, and Emma decided you were supposed to be in our lives. And Emma's usually right about these things. Claire's heart hammered against her ribs. I'm not good at this. At people. At being anything other than a CEO. I'm not good at it either. At trusting. At believing anyone would stay. They sat in silence, the space between them charged with possibility and fear in equal measure. I should probably sleep, Claire said finally. It's late. You can have the couch. I'll take the floor. Daniel. I can't take You're our guest. Please. He brought her a pillow and blanket, both worn soft from use. Their hands brushed during the exchange, and Claire felt something electric pass between them. Good night, Claire. Good night. She lay awake for a long time after he left, staring at the Christmas tree lights blinking in the corner, listening to the quiet sounds of Daniel settling in the bedroom, Emma's soft breathing through the wall. For the first time in 14 years, she wasn't alone on Christmas, and she wasn't sure what terrified her more, how good that felt, or how much she wanted it to stay that way. Claire woke to the smell of pancakes and the sound of giggles from the kitchen. For a confused moment, she didn't know where she was. Then memory returned the diner. Daniel Emma Christmas Eve spent in a one-bedroom apartment that felt more like home than anywhere she'd lived in years. She sat up on the couch. Someone Daniel had covered her with an extra blanket while she slept. The gesture made her throat tighten. Morning light streamed through the windows, turning the worn furniture golden. The Christmas tree looked softer in daylight, less perfect but somehow more beautiful. No M that's too much batter. Crash. More giggles. Now it's everywhere, I can see that. Claire smiled before she was fully awake. When was the last time she'd woken up to laughter? She found them in the kitchen, Daniel in sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair sticking up in the back. Emma in unicorn pajamas covered head to toe in pancake batter, looking like she'd waged war against breakfast and lost. Miss Claire, Emma, spotted her and ran over batter-covered hands reaching. We're making pancakes. They're supposed to be Christmas trees, but they look like blobs. Daniel turned a sheepish smile on his face. Flour dusted his left cheek like war paint. We're not very good at this, he admitted. Claire surprised herself by laughing, really laughing from her belly. Can I help, please? They worked together, Emma providing enthusiastic but chaotic assistance, Daniel attempting to salvage the batter situation, Claire finding herself actually enjoying the mess, the imperfection, the humanity of it all. It was so different from her usual Christmas mornings alone with expensive coffee and quarterly reports, silence so complete she could hear her own thoughts echoing back at her. This was messy, loud, flour everywhere. This was perfect. Emma insisted they eat at the table like a real family. We are a real family, Daniel corrected gently. I know, but now we have Miss Claire, too. That makes us more family. They ate misshapen pancakes covered in too much syrup. Emma told elaborate stories about the Christmas magic she was absolutely certain was happening outside. Santa definitely came to our building. I heard the roof creaking. That was probably Mr. Henderson in 4B, Daniel said. Or it was Santa. You can't prove it wasn't. After breakfast, Emma disappeared into the bedroom. She returned carrying a small wrapped package, walking carefully like it might break. This is for you, Miss Claire. Claire's throat tightened. Emma, you didn't have to. I wanted to. Daddy says Christmas is about giving, not just getting. So I picked my very favorite thing to give you. Claire unwrapped it carefully, her hands shaking slightly. Inside was a stuffed unicorn, slightly worn, clearly treasured for years. This is yours, Claire said, voice breaking. Emma, I can't. His name is Sparkles. He's really good at making people feel better when they're sad. Emma's face was serious, her voice carrying the wisdom of someone much older. I think you need him more than I do right now. Claire pulled Emma into a hug, tears streaming down her face without permission. Thank you. This is the most meaningful gift I've ever received. Really more than fancy stuff, more than any fancy stuff in the world. Emma beamed. See, Daddy, I told you she'd like it. Over Emma's head. Daniel mouthed. I tried to stop her. Claire shook her head slightly. It's perfect. They spent the morning playing board games. Emma pulled from a closet. Candyland with half the cards missing. Go fish with a deck that had seen better days, Uno, with house rules that Emma invented as they went along. Claire couldn't remember the last time she'd played board games. Couldn't remember the last time she'd done anything just for the joy of it. Around noon, her phone started buzzing insistently. She'd silenced it but hadn't turned it off, couldn't quite bring herself to cut that cord completely. 97 notifications. Work, Daniel asked. Noticing her expression changed the way her shoulders tensed. Always work. You don't have to answer it. I'm the CEO. There's always something that needs. She stopped herself, looked at Emma, who was counting Uno cards with intense concentration, her tongue poking out slightly. Claire made a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. She powered off the phone completely. Actually, I don't. Not today. Daniel's smile could have lit the entire city. That looked hard. Terrifying. I haven't turned off my phone in I can't remember how long. How does it feel? Like I'm about to have a panic attack. She laughed shakily, but also like I'm finally breathing properly for the first time in years. They settled on the couch, Emma sprawled between them, coloring in a new book Daniel had somehow managed to get her for Christmas, despite having no money. Claire looked at the two of them and felt something shift in her chest, like a door she'd locked 14 years ago was slowly, carefully opening. The day after Christmas, Claire stood in her penthouse, staring at her expensive furniture, and feeling nothing but emptiness. Her phone, which she'd finally turned back on, had exploded with messages. Rick demanding to know where she'd been. Board members furious about her absence. Beth worried she'd been kidnapped. Claire ignored them all and texted Daniel instead. Thank you for yesterday. It meant more than you know. The response came 30 seconds later, making her heart jump. Emma hasn't stopped talking about you. Asked if you're coming back. Fair warning, she's very persistent about these things. Would it be okay if I did? Come back, I mean. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, appeared again. Claire held her breath. We'd like that, both of us. 2 days later, Claire showed up at Daniel's building with bags of gifts. Too many bags, toys for Emma, expensive electronics designer clothes. Things that probably cost more than Daniel made in 6 months. She realized her mistake the moment she saw his face. Daniel opened the door, took one look at the pile of shopping bags, and his expression closed off completely. Claire, what is all this? I wanted to get Emma some things. And you? We can't accept this. Why not I can afford? That's not the point. Emma appeared behind him, her face lighting up when she saw Claire. Miss Claire, you came back. Hey, Em, did you bring presents? Emma, go to your room for a minute, Daniel said, his voice tight. But, now please. Emma's face fell. She looked between them, confused by the sudden tension, and slowly walked away, her footsteps dragging. Once she was gone, Daniel stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind him, putting a physical barrier between this conversation and his daughter. I appreciate the thought, but this is too much. I just wanted to help. We don't need help. We're doing fine. I didn't mean to offend. Claire. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident in every line of his body. I invited you into our home because Emma liked you, because you seemed genuine, not because we needed a rich benefactor throwing money at our problems. The words stung like a slap, cutting through her intentions to the truth beneath. That's not what I... Isn't it trying to buy your way in because you don't know how else to connect? Claire's mouth opened, closed, opened again. He was right. She'd fallen back on old patterns, using money because money was what she knew. Money was safe. Money was a transaction she understood. Money couldn't reject her, except it just had. You're right, she said quietly, sinking down to sit in the hallway back against the wall. I'm sorry. Daniel stared at her for a moment, his anger deflating slightly. Then he sat down beside her, leaving careful space between them. Look, I get that you mean well. No, you're completely right. Claire looked at him, allowing herself to be vulnerable in a way she hadn't been in years. I don't know how to do this. Be a person without transactions, without using resources to get what I want. It's how I've operated for 10 years, solve every problem by throwing money at it. She took a shaky breath. My ex-wife used to buy Emma expensive gifts to make up for not being there. Emma learned that gifts meant absence, that presents were apologies for broken promises. I won't let that pattern repeat. The detail stopped Claire cold. Of course this would trigger him. I didn't know, she said. But I should have thought. What do you want? Claire Daniel interrupted. Honestly, why are you here? I want to see you again, both of you. Not because you need anything from me, but because you make me feel like a real person instead of just a title and a bank account. She looked at him, letting him see the loneliness she usually hid. I want to learn how to be the kind of person who belongs in your living room. But I don't know how. I've forgotten how to just be human. Daniel's expression softened, the anger melting into something more complicated. You don't need to buy your way in. You're already here. Then what do I do? Just show up. That's all Emma wants. Someone who shows up. Someone who doesn't leave when things get complicated or boring or hard. I can do that. Can you? Because Emma gets attached fast. And if you're going to disappear when work gets busy again? I won't. Even as she said it, a small voice in her head whispered, Are you sure? Can you really promise that Daniel must have heard the doubt, because his eyes searched hers, looking for certainty she wasn't sure she possessed? I'm not saying it'll be easy, Claire admitted, but I want to try. I want to prove I can choose differently this time. Okay. He stood, offered his hand to help her up. Then come have dinner with us tonight. No gifts. Just you. Just me. Just you is enough. Those 4 words felt like absolution. They ate spaghetti that night, Emma helping make the sauce, more of it on her shirt than in the pot. Claire learned that Emma was terrified of the dark that Daniel had been saving for a year to take her to the zoo, that Emma's favorite color was purple because it's fancy, but also fun. After Emma went to bed, Daniel and Claire sat on the couch with tea, a comfortable silence settling between them. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel said. "Sure. What made you turn off your phone on Christmas?" That seemed significant. Claire was quiet for a long moment, choosing her words carefully. "I was sitting there looking at Emma count her Uno cards, completely absorbed in the game. And I realized I hadn't felt that present in years. Every moment of my life I'm thinking about the next meeting, the next deal, the next crisis." She looked at him. "But with you two I was just there, in the moment, and it felt like coming up for air after drowning for a decade. Is that why you came back? To feel that again?" "I came back because for the first time in 14 years, I wasn't alone on Christmas, and I'm not ready to go back to being alone yet." Daniel shifted closer, their shoulders touching. "You know what scares me," he said quietly. "What, that you'll wake up one day and realize we're not worth what you gave up. That you'll resent us for making you choose between us and the life you built. I could never. You say that now. But Claire, I can't compete with your company, with millions of dollars and board meetings and the success you've spent 10 years building. You're not competing. You've already won." She kissed him, then surprising them both. It was soft and tentative, and tasted like hope. When they broke apart, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. "I'm terrified of this," he admitted. "Me too. But I want it anyway." "Me too." They held each other as the night deepened outside both of them, knowing they were standing on the edge of something that could either save them or destroy them completely. 2 months after Christmas, Claire had fallen into a routine that felt both foreign and natural. Dinner at Daniel's apartment 3 times a week, sometimes 4. She'd bring ingredients, and they'd cook together, while Emma did homework at the table, her tongue poking out in concentration. It was domestic and simple, and nothing like Claire's usual life of expensive restaurants and business dinners. It was the best part of her week. In February, Emma had her Valentine's Day school performance. Claire had promised to attend. The day of a board meeting ran late. Rick droned on about quarterly projections while Claire watched the clock, anxiety building in her chest like pressure before a storm. 4:30 p.m. Performance started at 5. "We need to discuss the merger proposal," Rick said, pulling up another slide. "Can it wait?" Claire asked, already gathering her things. "It's time-sensitive. It can wait." She grabbed her coat and ran, leaving Rick sputtering behind her. Arrived at the school at 5:05, still in her work clothes, pencil skirt, and blazer that screamed corporate executive in a gym full of parents in jeans. The auditorium was packed. Claire scanned the crowd, finally spotting Daniel in the 3rd row. She slid into the seat beside him, breathless. "You made it," he said, relief evident in his voice. "I said I would." She squeezed his hand. Nothing was more important than this. The lights dimmed. Children filed onto stage in Valentine costumes, construction, paper hearts, glitter everywhere, proud parents already recording on their phones. Emma, in a paper heart dress that was crooked and perfect, spotted Claire immediately. Her entire face lit up like sunrise. She waved so enthusiastically she almost knocked over the girl beside her. Claire waved back, throat tight with emotion she didn't know she was capable of feeling. Emma sang slightly off-key but with complete enthusiasm. She forgot half the hand motions but made up her own. She was perfect. After the performance, Emma ran to them through the crowd of parents, launching herself at Claire with the full force of childhood joy. "Did you see me? Did you see? You were amazing, sweetheart," Daniel said, scooping her up. "Miss Claire, you came. I was worried you wouldn't." Emma's arms tightened around Claire's neck. "I promised, didn't I?" "Yeah," but Emma's voice got quieter. "Mommy used to promise too, and then she'd never come." The words hung in the air, heavy with old hurt. Claire knelt down to Emma's level, looking directly into her eyes. "Emma, when I make a promise to you, I mean it. I will always do everything I can to keep my promises to you. Always. Promise, promise." Emma threw her arms around Claire's neck. "I love you, Miss Claire." Claire's eyes burned. "I love you too, Emma." After that moment, something shifted. The three of them went for ice cream, Emma chattering non-stop about the performance, and Claire realized she'd crossed some invisible line. This wasn't just companionship anymore. This wasn't just filling lonely hours. This was family, and that terrified her more than any boardroom ever had. That night, after Emma was asleep, Daniel seemed nervous. Claire noticed the way he kept running his hand through his hair, the way he wouldn't quite meet her eyes. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "Sure. Would you want to, if you're interested, go out sometime, just the two of us?" Claire's heart jumped. "Like a date?" "Yeah, like a date. Unless that's weird because of Emma. I'd love to." Yeah. She smiled. "I should warn you, though. I'm really bad at dating." "Me too. We'll be terrible at it together." They planned it for the following weekend. Mrs. Chen, the elderly neighbor from 4D, who sometimes watched Emma, agreed to babysit with the knowing smile of someone who'd seen this coming from miles away. Claire spent an embarrassing amount of time picking out an outfit. Not too formal, she didn't want to look like she was going to a business meeting. Not too casual, she wanted him to know she cared. She settled on dark jeans and a cashmere sweater. No designer labels visible. Just soft and warm and real. Daniel picked her up. She'd moved to a smaller apartment, couldn't stomach the penthouse anymore, and took her to a small Italian restaurant in his neighborhood. Not fancy, but warm, authentic. The kind of place where regulars were greeted by name and the owner remembered your usual order. They slid into a corner booth. Candles flickered on the table. Italian music played softly from hidden speakers. "Wine?" the waiter asked. "Please," Red Claire said. Same. They both reached for the bread basket at the same time. Hands collided. They pulled back, laughing nervously. "This is awkward, right?" Daniel said. "So awkward. Why, we've had dinner together dozens of times. Emma's always there. She's our buffer. Should we have brought her?" They both laughed, tension easing like a drawn breath finally released. The conversation flowed more naturally after that. Daniel talked about his dreams of architecture, how he still sketched buildings in notebooks late at night, elaborate designs he'd probably never build, but couldn't stop imagining. Claire talked about vision tech, how she'd built it from nothing after her parents died, how work had been her shield against grief for so long, she'd forgotten there was anything underneath. "I spent a year thinking I did something wrong," Daniel said, talking about his ex-wife. "That if I'd been different, better, more exciting, she would have stayed. It wasn't your fault. I know that now. But Emma sometimes asks why her mum didn't want her. And I don't have a good answer except that sometimes people are too broken to see what they have until it's gone." Claire reached across the table and took his hand. "Emma is wanted. So wanted. By you, by everyone who meets her. Your ex-wife is the one who lost out, and she'll spend the rest of her life knowing it." His thumb brushed across her knuckles, sending electricity up her arm. "Thank you for saying that. I mean it." They talked about everything: dreams, fears, regrets, the messy, complicated reality of being adults who'd been broken by life and were trying to piece themselves back together. After dinner, Daniel walked Claire to her car. Snow was falling softly, making the streetlights blur and sparkle like stars brought down to earth. They stopped at her Mercedes. Awkward pause. "I had a really good time tonight," Claire said. "Me too. Can we do this again?" "I'd like that." Moment of hesitation. Daniel stepped closer, close enough that Claire could see the flecks of gold in his hazel eyes. "Can I kiss you? Please?" He cupped her face gently. Their lips met, soft and tentative and sweet. Claire's first kiss in 3 years. They pulled apart, both smiling like teenagers who'd just discovered something wonderful. "Wow," she breathed. "Yeah." They kissed again, deeper this time, Daniel's hands in her hair, Claire's arms around his neck, the world narrowing to just this moment, just this connection, just this feeling of finally coming home. When they finally broke apart, Claire realized she was crying. "Are you okay?" Daniel looked alarmed. "I'm happy." She wiped her eyes, laughing through the tears. "I'd forgotten what that feels like." He brushed away her tears with his thumb so gentle it made her want to cry harder. "Get used to it. I plan on making you happy as much as possible." Claire drove home with her heart singing, hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel. For the first time since her parents died, she felt like she might actually get to keep something good. And that possibility was the most terrifying, wonderful thing she'd ever experienced. Spring arrived with crisis. Vision Tech faced a hostile takeover attempt. A Silicon Valley giant saw their technology and wanted to absorb them, strip the company for parts and patents. The board was split. Half wanted to sell and take the massive payout. Half wanted to fight and maintain independence. Claire had to be present, full time, all hours, no exceptions, meetings until midnight, emergency calls at 3 a.m., strategy sessions that ate entire weekends. Her phone became an extension of her hand again, always buzzing, always demanding, always pulling her away. She started missing dinners with Daniel and Emma. First one, she texted an apology, promised to make it up to them. Then 3 in a row. Her text became shorter, more apologetic, less specific about when she'd be free again. Then a full week of absence, just texts and promises, and the growing realization that she was slipping back into old patterns. Emma drew a picture at school, 3 stick figures holding hands. But the figure representing Claire was transparent, barely visible, like she was already fading away. Daniel sent Claire a photo without commentary. The image said everything. Claire stared at it in her office at 11 p.m., exhaustion and guilt warring in her chest. She texted back, "I'm not disappearing. Just busy. This will pass." Daniel's response came after a long pause. "I know, but Emma doesn't understand the difference between busy and gone. I'll make it up to her. When soon? I promise." Another long pause, then, "Okay." That single word carried the weight of every disappointment, every broken promise, every woman who'd chosen something else over them. Friday night. Claire had promised to take them to dinner, a celebration for Emma's good report card, somewhere nice where Emma could wear her fancy dress. Claire was in a board meeting that wouldn't end. She checked her phone at 6:30, anxiety spiking when she saw the time. 15 more minutes, so sorry. 7. 30 minutes, max. I promise. 7:30. Meeting running long. Can we reschedule? I'm so sorry. At the restaurant. Emma sat in her fancy dress, the one Daniel had bought special, stretching their budget, because his daughter deserved something that made her feel beautiful. She kept scanning the door, hope dimming a little more with each passing minute. "Is Miss Claire here yet?" she asked for the 10th time. Daniel's heart broke, watching his daughter's hope fade, like a candle slowly guttering out. Finally, he texted back, "Sure, no problem." They went for ice cream instead. Emma quiet in a way that scared Daniel more than any tantrum would have. "Daddy does. Miss Claire not like us anymore. Of course she likes us, Em." "Then why doesn't she come?" "She has important work. Work is always more important than me." Emma said it matter-of-factly, like she was stating a law of nature. "That's why Mommy left too." Daniel couldn't finish the lie forming in his throat. That night, Claire showed up at his apartment at 11 p.m., still in her business suit, exhausted, makeup smudged, desperate to fix what she could feel breaking. Daniel answered the door, Emma asleep in the bedroom. "I'm so sorry." "Don't." "The meeting ran late and I couldn't." "Claire." He stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind him. "Do you know what Emma said tonight?" He repeated the conversation, watching Claire's face crumple with each word. "I never wanted." "I know, but impact matters more than intention. You're not the first person to promise Emma they'll show up and then choose something else instead. That's not fair. What's not fair is watching my daughter learn over and over that she's not worth staying for, that everyone eventually picks something else. I'm not your ex-wife. Then prove it." He said it without anger, just bone-deep weariness. "Because right now I'm watching the exact same pattern, and I can't let Emma go through that again. What do you want me to do?" "I want you to figure out what you really want. Because Emma can't keep getting her heart broken every time you choose work over us." The words hung between them like a challenge, like an ultimatum, like the truth they'd both been avoiding. Claire drove home crying so hard she had to pull over twice, her hands shaking on the steering wheel, her whole body trembling with the realization of what she was losing. She sat in her car in the parking garage for an hour, staring at nothing, her phone buzzing with more demands from work. Finally called Beth at midnight. "I'm losing them." "What happened?" Claire explained everything, the words tumbling out between sobs. "So choose them," Beth said simply. "It's not that simple." "Why not? The company needs me. The board, the investors, the employees whose jobs depend on. We'll find another CEO. They always do. But Emma can't find another you." Silence. "What if I can't do both?" Claire whispered. "What if I have to choose, then choose Claire? But choose knowing what you're giving up. Because you can't have both while giving neither one what they actually need." April brought the crisis that couldn't be ignored. Rick burst into Claire's office early one morning, face flushed with excitement or panic, she couldn't tell which. "I have a solution. For the takeover, I'm listening. A merger with a Chinese tech firm. They're willing to invest $200 million. Complete financial security. The takeover threat disappears." Claire's stomach dropped. "What's the catch you need to go to Shanghai?" "A week of negotiations. The partners specifically requested they won't sign without your direct involvement. When you'd leave Monday." "What's this week?" Claire asked, already knowing she'd hate the answer. Rick checked his calendar. April 15th through 22nd. Why Emma's dance recital was April 20th, the one Emma had been practicing for since January. The one where she was the lead playing Dorothy in their production of The Wizard of Oz. The one she talked about every single day, her face lighting up with pride and excitement. The one Claire had promised she'd be there for. No. Rick blinked. "What? Find another way?" "Claire, there is no other way. The Chinese partners specifically requested you. They've met with 3 other CEOs and rejected all of them. They want to work with you or no one. This is $200 million. This saves the company, everyone's jobs, everything we've built. I have a commitment. A commitment. Claire, this is our company's survival we're talking about. This is the difference between staying independent and being absorbed by a competitor who will gut us for parts. I promised. You're the CEO. Your first responsibility is to this company and the 300 people who depend on their paychecks. Claire stared at the proposal in Rick's hands. $200 million. Company survival. Versus one dance recital. When she framed it that way, the answer seemed obvious. But Emma's face kept appearing in her mind the way she'd demonstrated her dance routine in the living room, her earnest voice saying, "You're coming, right? Miss Claire, you promise." "Promised. I need to think about it. We need an answer by tomorrow morning." That night, Claire sat in Daniel's living room. Emma was at a sleepover with Sophie, giving them rare time alone to talk. She told him about Shanghai. Daniel's face went carefully blank. "You have to go." "What?" "It's $200 million. Company survival. That's you have to go." But Emma's recital. "I know. I promised her. I know that too." They sat in silence, heavy and suffocating. "Tell me what to do," Claire said, hating how desperate she sounded. "I can't." Daniel's voice was soft but firm. "This has to be your choice, Claire, but I need you to understand something." He turned to face her, his eyes sad and honest. "If you go, Emma will learn that promises break when something more important comes along. That she'll always be second to work. She's 6 years old and she's already learned that lesson from her mother. I can't watch her learn it again from someone else she loves. It's not about her specifically. I know. But that's what she'll believe. That's what gets internalized. I'm not important enough to keep." "What would you do?" Claire asked desperately. Daniel looked at her with eyes that had already seen too much loss. "I gave up architecture for Emma. Gave up my dreams, my education, everything I wanted for myself. Because she's more important than any dream, any amount of money, any opportunity that would mean breaking a promise to her. But that's your choice. And this is yours." After Claire left, Daniel sat alone in the dark, head in his hands. He loved her. God, he loved her. But he couldn't watch Emma's heart break again. Couldn't watch his daughter learn that everyone eventually leaves. And he couldn't compete with a company worth millions. Couldn't compete with a life Claire had spent a decade building. He'd known from the start this might end this way. Known the risk of letting her in. But loving her anyway had still felt worth it until now. Claire drove to her apartment and sat in the dark, paralyzed by the decision. Call Rick in the morning. Say yes or say no. Go to Shanghai or stay home. Save the company or keep her promise. She thought about her parents. The choice they'd made to come home for Christmas instead of taking a work trip. The choice that had killed them. She thought about Emma's transparent figure in that drawing, already fading, already disappearing. She thought about 14 years of building walls of choosing work over people of being safe and successful and completely alone. At 3 a.m. she made her decision. She called Rick. "Book my flight to Shanghai." Even as she said it, something inside her shattered completely. Shanghai was beautiful and hollow. The hotel was perfect. The negotiations went smoothly. And Claire was drowning. 3 a.m. wide awake with jet lag and guilt. She looked at photos on her phone, Emma's drawings, videos of Emma practicing her dance routine in the living room, her face glowing with excitement. Her phone buzzed. Text from Emma. "I hope your work trip is good. I'll miss you at my recital. But it's okay. I understand. No guilt trip, no anger. Just a 6-year-old trying to be mature about being abandoned." Claire cried in her perfect hotel room, surrounded by luxury that meant nothing. The negotiations went well. The Chinese partners liked her. The deal was coming together piece by piece. Rick was ecstatic. "We're going to save the company." Claire felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything inside her and left only the shell. Friday afternoon, final negotiation session. Claire checking her watch every 10 minutes, doing the math recital starting in 6 hours, no way to make it back in time. Then the Chinese partners dropped their bomb. We've decided to pursue other opportunities. Rick went pale. What? But we've been negotiating all week. Our board met last night. They've decided we're not ready for international expansion at this time. We apologize for the inconvenience. Just like that. Deal dead. Week wasted, all that sacrifice. Missing Emma's recital. Breaking her promise. Proving Daniel right about every fear he'd ever had. For nothing. Claire sat in her hotel room, staring at the ceiling, calculating time differences. Recital starting in 3 hours, no way to get back. Her phone rang. FaceTime from Beth. I'm at the recital, Beth said without preamble voice. Tight with something Claire couldn't identify. Thought you should see this. She turned the camera toward the stage. Emma in her white ballet outfit hair, in perfect curls, scanning the audience with desperate hope. Daniel sitting alone in the 4th row. Other families around him. Parents, grandparents, siblings, all there to support their children. Emma's face fell when she didn't spot Claire. The hope dying in her eyes was visible even through the phone screen. The recital began. Emma performed beautifully. Technically perfect, every movement practiced to precision. But her face was empty, mechanical. No joy, just a child going through motions because the person she'd wanted to perform for wasn't there. After she ran to Daniel, tears streaming. She didn't come. She promised, but she didn't come. The call ended. Claire sat in the most expensive hotel in Shanghai, success and designer luggage, surrounding her, sobbing until she couldn't breathe. This was it. This was her bottom. She'd chosen work over Emma, and the work had failed anyway, and now she'd lost everything that actually mattered. She grabbed her phone and called the airline. The emergency flight cost $8,000. She didn't care. Landed Saturday 6 p.m., local time, went straight from the airport to Daniel's building, didn't even go home to change or drop off her luggage. 11, exhausted, jet-lagged, desperate. She sat outside apartment 3C with her bags. Waited. Midnight. Daniel came home from a late maintenance call, a burst pipe in 4A that had kept him working for hours. Found Claire in the hallway, still in her business suit. Mascara smudged luggage beside her like she'd arrived from another planet. Claire. What are you? I quit. I'm quitting my job. On Monday. Officially. I already called Rick from the airport. Already told him to start looking for my replacement. You can't just... I can. I did. Because you were right. I made my choice. And it's you. Both of you. Daniel stared at her. Claire, I'm not asking you to forgive me. Not yet. Emma's recital. God, I missed her recital. I saw Beth's video, and her voice broke. I know I can't fix that, can't take it back, but I'm asking for a chance to prove I can choose differently from now on. What about your company? I'll find a buyer, or promote someone. I don't care anymore, because it doesn't matter if I build the most successful company in the world, but lose you and Emma in the process. And I was losing you. I could feel it happening, and I kept choosing wrong anyway. You built that company from nothing, and I'll build something else, something that doesn't require sacrificing every other part of my life. Something smaller, something that lets me keep promises to 6-year-olds who deserve better than I've been giving. Daniel sat beside her in the hallway, his work clothes still dusty from fixing pipes exhaustion, evident in every line of his face. Emma's heart broken. I know. She thinks everyone leaves. Everyone chooses something else. I know. Can you prove to her you won't? Can you actually follow through this time? I'm going to spend every single day trying. And if it takes years for her to trust me again, then it takes years. But I'm not leaving. I'm not choosing work over you ever again. They sat in silence, the building settling around them with creaks and distant sounds of other people's lives. "Okay," Daniel said finally. "But you have to talk to her. Really talk to her. And Claire, if you break another promise to her, we're done. For real this time. I can't watch her go through that again. I understand. Come for breakfast tomorrow. 9 a.m. I'll be here." Claire spent the night in her car in the parking lot of Daniel's building. Couldn't go home. Couldn't leave. Just sat in the Mercedes with her luggage watching the sun rise over the city, practicing what she'd say to Emma. At 8:45 am she knocked on Daniel's door. Emma opened it. Saw Claire. Froze her small body, going very still. "Miss Claire, hi sweetheart, you came back." It wasn't quite a question, more like a statement of impossible things. "I came back, and I need to talk to you about something important. Is that okay?" Emma looked at her father. Daniel nodded, giving permission. They sat on the couch, Emma clutching Sparkles, the unicorn, Claire clutching her courage like a lifeline. "I broke my promise," Claire said, meeting Emma's eyes. "I missed your recital, and I'm so sorry." "I know." Emma's voice was small, carefully neutral. "It was wrong. There's no excuse that makes it okay. Daddy said you had to save your company. I chose to try to save my company instead of keeping my promise to you. And that was the wrong choice." Emma was quiet for a long moment, processing with the seriousness children bring to important truths. "Daddy recorded it, my recital. Do you want to watch? I would love that more than anything." They watched the video on Daniel's phone, Emma's performance from every angle Daniel had managed to capture. Claire cried through the entire thing, seeing what she'd missed. Seeing Emma's beautiful, heartbroken performance. "You were so beautiful, Emma. So perfect." "I looked for you." Emma said it factually, without accusation, which somehow made it worse. "I know, and I'm so sorry I wasn't there. Are you going to leave again?" "For work, no. Promise I'm choosing you. I quit my job. I'm not going back to that company. From now on, I'm choosing you every single time." Emma studied her face with 6-year-old seriousness, looking for the lie, looking for the catch. "Okay, I forgive you. But you have to come to my birthday party in September, and next year's recital, and my school play in winter. Promise I'll be at all of them. Promise, promise. You said that before." The words hung heavy. "I know, and I broke it, so I understand if you don't trust me right now, but I'm going to earn it back, however long it takes." Emma thought about this. Then she threw her arms around Claire's neck. "I missed you. Even when I was mad, I missed you. I missed you too." They held each other while Daniel watched from the kitchen, hoping desperately that this time would be different. Monday morning, Claire walked into Vision Tech for what would be one of her last times as CEO. Rick was waiting, arms crossed. "You're actually doing this. I am. The board will fight you. Let them. I'm resigning effective in 90 days. That gives you time to find a replacement, and for me to transition everything properly. But after that, I'm done. You're walking away from millions. I'm walking toward something worth more than money." She submitted her resignation in writing, recommended her COO as replacement, started the process of disentangling herself from the company she'd spent 10 years building. Beth caught her in the hallway afterward. "You really did it. I really did. How does it feel? Terrifying. Liberating." "Right. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Beth, for everything, for being the one person who never let me completely lose myself in work. What now?" "Now I go prove I meant what I said. The next 3 months were a study in consistency." Claire showed up. Every day, every promise, every small moment that Emma needed to see, to believe this was real. She negotiated her exit from Vision Tech, 90 days of transition, helping the new CEO settle in, ensuring the company she'd built wouldn't collapse without her. But she left work at 5 p.m. No exceptions. Turned off her phone at 6 p.m. No emergencies that couldn't wait until tomorrow. She made it to every one of Emma's school events. Soccer practice, piano lessons, playdates with Sophie. She moved to an even smaller apartment, nice but modest, the kind she could afford on consulting income instead of CEO salary. Emma helped her pack. "You don't have as much stuff anymore," Emma observed. "Don't need as much, just the things that matter. What matters you. Your dad, this." Claire held up a drawing Emma had made of their family. "This is what matters." She started consulting for non-profits using her tech expertise to help organizations that couldn't afford big firms. The work paid modestly, but meant something beyond profit margins. And slowly, day by day, Emma's trust grew back like a plant carefully watered. Small moments. Claire showing up for breakfast 3 mornings a week. Claire helping with homework every Monday and Wednesday. Claire being there when Emma came home from school ready to hear about her day. 6 weeks after Shanghai, Mrs. Chen stopped Claire in the hallway. "You're still here?" "Still here. Thought you'd run back to your big job by now. I like this life better." Mrs. Chen studied her with sharp eyes that had seen everything. "That girl talks about you constantly. She's special. She's been hurt enough. I know. I'm not going to hurt her again. Time will tell." Mrs. Chen started to walk away, then turned back. "But for what it's worth, I hope I'm wrong about you this time." September arrived with Emma's 7th birthday. Claire had been planning for weeks, nothing extravagant, just perfect for Emma. A party at the park with games and a unicorn cake and all of Emma's friends from school. Birthday morning she arrived at 8 a.m. to help set up. Emma was still in her pajamas when she answered the door, eyes lighting up when she saw Claire. "You're here. It's my birthday and you're already here." "Of course I'm here. It's your birthday." They spent the morning decorating hanging streamers, blowing up balloons, setting up the craft station Emma had insisted on. Daniel made pancakes shaped like the number 7 while they worked. The party was perfect. Emma glowed with happiness, surrounded by friends and family. Her small chosen family, that had grown to include Mrs. Chen and Beth, and a few other neighbors who'd become important to them. During cake, Emma made a wish and blew out her candles with determination. Later she whispered to Claire, "I wished for you and Daddy to get married." Emma. But I didn't say it out loud, so it still counts. She grinned, gap-toothed and mischievous. That evening, after guests left and Emma was in bed, Daniel and Claire cleaned up together, working in comfortable silence. "She told you what she wished for?" Daniel asked. "How did you know she told me too?" "Said she told you first, so if you told me the wish wouldn't count." "She's already working the angles." They laughed, the sound soft in the twilight. "Would that be the worst thing?" Claire asked quietly. "What, getting married?" "Us." Daniel stopped cleaning dish towel in his hands. "No. It wouldn't be the worst thing." "Then maybe we should." "Are you?" "Not yet, but soon, when I'm sure I've earned back the trust I broke, when Emma knows beyond doubt that I'm staying." "She already knows, Claire. She sees you every day. You're not the person who missed the recital anymore. But I still need to prove it to myself." Daniel pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Okay, but for the record, I'd say yes." "Whenever you're ready." October brought one last test. 2 a.m. Claire's phone rang. "Rick. Sorry for the hour. What's wrong?" "Johnson Technologies. They're back. $50 million merger. But they'll only sign if you come back to lead the combined company." Claire looked at Daniel, sleeping beside her in her small apartment he'd been staying over more and more, both of them slowly building toward something permanent. "When meeting tomorrow in LA. You'd be back by dinner. But Claire, this is huge. This is everything we worked for. This could set you up financially for life." Tomorrow was Emma's school play. She was playing Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, the role she'd worked so hard for, the one she'd been practicing lines for every evening. I can't. Can't or won't. Does it matter? The answer is no. Rick, it's $50 million. And tomorrow my daughter has her school play. She's the lead. I promised I'd be there. There's nothing you can offer me that's worth breaking that promise. Claire, this is your company. Was my company. I walked away. Find someone else. Promote internally. I don't care. But my answer is no. She hung up. Daniel was awake, watching her. You just turned down $50 million. You heard that. Hard not to. It wasn't even a choice. Not anymore. You sure I've never been more sure of anything? He pulled her close. I love you. I love you too. The next day, Claire sat front row center at Emma's school play. Daniel beside her, both of them beaming with pride. Emma peeked from backstage, saw them both, and her face split into a grin that could light the whole world. The play was adorable, and chaotic kids forgetting lines, scenery falling over someone, singing completely off-key in the background. Emma was perfect, earnest, and dramatic, and completely committed to being Dorothy. Claire cried through the entire thing. After Emma ran to them, still in her costume. I saw you. You both came. We wouldn't miss it, Claire said, pulling her close. Not even for important work. Nothing is more important than this, than you. Emma hugged her fiercely. I know. The copper kettle. Emma looked up from the back seat, confused. Why are we going there? Because Claire said driving carefully through fresh snow, that's where everything started, 1 year ago today. The place where Daddy bought me hot chocolate with quarters, Emma remembered suddenly. And where I bought you both dinner, Claire added. And where we invited you home for Christmas. Daniel finished, reaching over to squeeze Claire's hand. They walked into the diner together, a family now, in every way that mattered. Donna looked up from behind the counter. Her face split into a huge smile. Well, if it isn't my favorite Christmas miracle family, I was wondering if you'd come back. You remember us? Emma asked, delighted. Honey, I watched you 3 fall in love right at this counter. Of course I remember. You're kind of famous here. They slid into the same booth where they'd eaten a year ago, Emma bouncing with excitement. Ordered the same things, hot chocolate for Emma, coffee for the adults this time, adding a full meal because Daniel could actually afford it now. Emma drew on napkins while they waited, her artistic skills noticeably improved. Daddy, remember when we first met Miss Claire? I remember. I knew she was special right away. How did you know? Because she was sad like you used to be. And I knew we could make her happy. Claire's eyes filled with tears. She cried easily now, let herself feel things instead of burying them under work and walls. You did make me happy, she said. You both did. You gave me back my life. We didn't give you anything, Daniel said gently. You chose it, because you showed me it was worth choosing. Donna brought their food, smiling at them like a proud grandmother. After they ate, Claire excused herself to use the restroom, but she didn't go to the bathroom. She went to Donna. Can you help me with something? When she returned 5 minutes later, she was holding a small box. Emma's eyes went huge, bouncing in her seat. Claire slid out of the booth, knelt beside Daniel's seat, her heart hammering so hard she could hear it in her ears. The entire diner went quiet, other patrons recognizing what was happening. Daniel Hayes. His eyes filled with tears before she even opened the box. A year ago, I walked into this diner, convinced I'd chosen success over happiness. That loneliness was the price of ambition, that I'd trade anything for safety, even joy. She opened the box, a simple ring, elegant but not flashy. Then I met you and Emma, and you showed me what I'd been missing. What actually matters. You taught me that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about showing up. About choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard. Daniel was crying openly now, not bothering to wipe the tears away. So I'm asking here in front of Emma and Donna and everyone, will you marry me? Will you let me keep choosing you, every single day for the rest of our lives?" Daniel dropped to his knees beside her, both of them kneeling on the worn diner floor. Yes. God, yes. 1,000 times, yes. They kissed while the diner erupted in applause. Emma launched herself at them both, wrapping her arms around their necks. "We're getting married." My wish came true. Outside the windows, snow began to fall, just like it had 1 year ago, transforming the city into something magical. They got married in the park where Emma had performed her school play, the place where Claire had proven she could choose differently. Small ceremony, just the people who mattered. Beth as Claire's maid of honor, Mrs. Chen in the front row with tissues already ready, Emma as flower girl taking her job with utmost seriousness. The venue was simple folding chairs, an arch decorated with wildflowers, a violinist playing softly. Emma walked down the aisle first, scattering rose petals with great concentration. She carried Sparkles the unicorn, insisting he needed to witness this too. Then Donna from the copper kettle, walking beside Claire, standing in for the parents Claire had lost so long ago. When Claire appeared, Daniel's breath caught. She wore a simple white dress, not the designer gown she'd once imagined for her theoretical wedding. Her blonde hair was loose flowers tucked into the waves. She was crying before she even reached the altar. Their vows included promises to Emma. Claire spoke through tears. "I promise to show up. For school plays and dance recitals and Tuesday morning pancakes. For good days and hard days and boring days. I promise to choose this us every single day. I promise that work will never be more important than family again." Daniel's voice was thick with emotion. "I promise to believe you when you choose us. To trust that we're worth staying for. To build a life where all our dreams fit together, not compete." Emma had her own vows, which she'd written herself and practiced with Sophie. "I promise to always tell you when you're being too mushy, and to remind you that family is the best thing ever, and to let you kiss even though it's gross, because you love each other, and that's important." Everyone laughed through their tears. When the officiant pronounced them married, Emma cheered so loud the birds in nearby trees took flight. The reception was at the Copper Kettle. Donna had insisted, refusing to take no for an answer. She'd closed the diner for the afternoon, decorated it with white lights and flowers, set up tables for their 50 guests. "This is where your story started," she'd said. "Only right, it's where you celebrate the next chapter." They ate and danced and celebrated. Emma showed anyone who'd listen her new last name, practicing signing Emma Hayes over and over. Mrs. Chen gave a toast that made everyone cry. I didn't think Claire would last. Thought she'd run back to her fancy job first chance she got. But she proved me wrong. She chose them every single day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. That's real love. Beth's toast. I've known Claire for 5 years, watched her build an empire and lose herself in the process. Then one Christmas, she met a single dad and his daughter and remembered how to be human again. This family saved her, but she saved herself by being brave enough to change. When it was Claire's turn to speak, she pulled Emma up to stand with her, one arm around her daughter's shoulders. "1.5 years ago, I was the loneliest person I knew. I had money and success, and a life that looked perfect on paper. And I was dying inside one expensive champagne bottle at a time." She looked at Daniel and Emma. "Then I met these two. And they taught me that the things that matter can't be bought. They taught me what it means to show up not just physically, but emotionally. They taught me that being vulnerable isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do." She knelt down to Emma's level. "Thank you for giving me Sparkles. Thank you for teaching me what unconditional love looks like. Thank you for giving me second chances even when I didn't deserve them." Emma threw her arms around Claire's neck. "You're the best bonus mom ever." "Bonus mom!" Claire pulled back, smiling through tears. That's what Sophie's teacher said. Since you're not my birth mum, but you're my real mom now. Bonus mum. I like that. I like that a lot. That evening, as the sun set and string lights began to glow, Claire and Daniel stood together watching their daughter dance with Mrs. Chen to music from Donna's ancient radio. We did it, Daniel said softly. Did what built something beautiful from broken pieces. We did, together. They kissed as the last light faded, beginning their married life, where their story had started surrounded by people who'd watched them fall apart and piece themselves back together. 2 years later, another Christmas Eve. Claire stood at the window of their small house. They'd moved out of the apartment into a modest 3-bedroom, enough room for all of them to have space while still feeling close. Outside, snow was falling the way it had that first Christmas Eve 3 years ago. Emma was 9 now, in the kitchen with Daniel making Christmas cookies, their voices mixing with holiday music from the radio. Claire held Sparkles the unicorn, the toy Emma had given her that first morning. The stitching was coming loose. The horn was bent. He'd been loved nearly to death. She'd never get rid of him. This silly stuffed toy represented everything that mattered the moment a child decided she was worth saving. Miss Claire, she turned. Emma still called her that, sometimes the name that had stuck from the beginning. I need help. Daddy's burning the cookies again. I am not burning them. They're caramelized. That's just a fancy word for burned. Claire laughed, walking into the kitchen to find Daniel waving a dish towel at the smoke detector while Emma dissolved into giggles. This chaos and laughter and imperfect cookies, this was everything. Later that evening, after Emma was in bed, Claire and Daniel sat on their couch with tea and the Christmas tree lights blinking gently. Do you miss it? Daniel asked. Your old life. Claire thought about the penthouse, the board meetings, the quarterly reports that had once consumed her entire existence. Not even a little bit. Really, really. I have everything I need right here. You, Emma, this messy, beautiful life we've built, that's worth more than all the success in the world. Daniel pulled her close, pressing a kiss to her temple. I love you. I love you too. Through the wall they could hear Emma talking in her sleep. Something about unicorns and Christmas magic, and her family being the best in the whole world. She's right, you know, Claire whispered. About what Christmas having special magic. The magic of second chances. Of broken people finding each other exactly when they need to. Of learning that the best things in life can't be bought, they have to be chosen. Every single day, Daniel agreed. Every single day. They sat in comfortable silence, watching snow fall outside their window, knowing that 3 years ago they'd been lost and lonely and convinced they'd spend Christmas alone forever. And now they were home. Because sometimes the family you need finds you at a diner counter on Christmas Eve. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let a stranger in. Sometimes breaking means you get to rebuild yourself into something stronger. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you get a second chance at happiness, and this time you choose it. Every single day. For the rest of your life. Friends, if this story touched your heart the way it touched mine, I want you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button and join our channel family. We're building a community of people who believe in second chances, in the power of showing up, in choosing love over fear. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Maybe they're sitting alone tonight wondering if they matter. Maybe they're drowning in work and forgetting what really counts. Maybe they just need a reminder that it's never too late to change, to choose differently, to open your heart again. Drop a comment below telling me what would you choose. Success or family, the corner office or the kitchen table. We all face these choices. This story reminds us what really matters. And if you believe in the magic of Christmas, the power of kindness, and the beauty of imperfect families built on choice rather than blood, give this video a like. Let's spread this message that you're never truly alone when you're brave enough to let people in. Because somewhere out there, someone is counting quarters at a diner counter hoping for a miracle. Someone is sitting in an empty penthouse, wondering if success is worth the loneliness. Someone needs to hear that they deserve love, that they deserve to be chosen, that they deserve a second chance. Be the person who shows up. Be the Claire who stops running. Be the Daniel who opens the door. Be the Emma who sees people and loves them anyway. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for believing that stories can change hearts. Thank you for choosing connection over isolation. Until next time, remember, the best Christmas gifts aren't wrapped in paper. They're wrapped in courage, in vulnerability, in the decision to let someone into your life who might just save you. Merry Christmas. You matter. You're seen. You're not alone.